Wow, that was terrifying.
I like that. I like that voice. We should add that in somewhere.
Now record.
You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions. If you give up the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to consult an attorney before speaking to the police, and to have an attorney present during questioning, now or in the future. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without an attorney present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to an attorney. Knowing and understanding your rights as I have explained them to you, are you willing to answer my questions without an attorney present?
I guess, man.
Is there anything at all left of the body?
Yeah. I only had a little bit of his little calf and some fingers.
Can you lead us to the remains?
You guys don't have it yet?
No. Why would you think we would have it?
Well, I mailed it to you.
You what?
Yeah. I mailed it to y'all's headquarters.
I'll check in on that.
Why are you being so mean to me? It's not like I killed anybody.
You just told me that you ate someone.
Yeah, but I found the body. I didn't kill nobody.
You didn't kill him?
No, man. That's what I'm telling you. I was hitchhiking. I found him. I don't know. Looked good. Its little fingers remind me of Vienna sausages. You ever have Vienna sausages with like some barbecue sauce on them?
Okay.
You ain't never wanted to try somebody? Like, eat them?
No.
Come on, man. Even just a little?
No.
Come on, man. It's just you and me. You can be honest with me.
All right. Where did you say you mailed the body?
Right here.
Let's go check on that.
Okay. I'll be here.
No, you're coming with me. I have a couple more questions. Did you use like a paprika rub or a lot of butter? How exactly did you
I'll show you. Let's go. Not bad for a first attempt at a skit.
Yeah, we only had to like stop it once.
Yeah, that's not bad. And it's my fucking fault because I fucking strayed off of the script. I didn't realize it went back and forth a couple times. I was like, oh yeah, and then oh fuck, I'm supposed to say a couple things in there.
I just tried to roll with it. I was like, I will improv it. It's fine.
You did great. I fucked it all up. It's like a theme at work that I'm bringing home, apparently.
Uh-oh.
So, all right, episode 2.
Welcome.
Point 1. So, this will be over missing 411.
Or missing in general, because
Or, yeah, in general.
Any missing people whatsoever, because apparently the missing 411 content guy is pretty quick to pull everything down that says missing 411.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He kind of seems like a dick. Maybe edit that out.
You leave it in there. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. It'd be fun to meet him sometime.
He really does genuinely seem like an asshole, though.
Does he? We're talking about David.
Yeah,
Politis,
David
right?
Politis. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He definitely seems like he's the undeniable authority, and if you try to play devil's advocate or speak to anything or like, hey, in this case this was actually found, then it just gets real. Every case I've ever mentioned is exactly what I say it is. Yeah, and to me, I think that it makes the genuine stories more credible when you do find the ones in the pile and you do figure out what happened years down the road and you are able to pick that out. It isolates a larger group of scenarios into, hey, we've solved this bucket, and it makes the ones that are unsolved more credible, in my opinion.
Right.
But it's like whatever happened to opinion and or freedom of speech.
I agree. Let's get into our opinions after we cover a couple stories, maybe. How do we want to do this? We all do one and then circle back and do another and then circle back and do another?
Yeah, that's fine. I've only got one just
Okay.
because I feel like that's more of like your guys' forte.
Okay.
I just kind of, it was real hard for me to get into it.
Yeah. And honestly, the more I got into it, the more I got out of it. Like, just kind of stopped being interesting. There's a couple cases that stand out to me, but nothing it's not as vast of a mystery as you'd think. Like, oh my god, this thousands of people go missing a year, and it's like, cool. So 20 of those are actually mysterious. The rest are all murder.
Or they've been found or whatever.
Right.
I think that's what, because I'm so ill prepared once again and didn't actually write down any cases, but I'm familiar with most of the ones that were written down there. I think probably I'll just speak more to like my opinion in that
Yeah.
realm as well, because I watched the whole 411 series. I watched pretty much all of like the Lore Lodge stuff
Mhm.
involved around this, and a couple of those other really good podcasts that cover the subject. And even on the ones that are unexplained, like, I mean, that first one that we're gonna cover, Tom, I know that one really well.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, I just have opinions about it, even given the extensive search, like the grid that went out
Mhm.
and grids that have gone out in some of these cases. And so I think I'll probably talk more about that than any specific case. This is just kind of like bring it together, and there's a lot of suicides and a
Mhm.
lot of murders, and a lot of you get into them and you start finding out that certain people are involved, and just because they haven't been implicated by law enforcement doesn't mean you can read between the lines,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We don't need to be the Y Files or the Lore Lodge who spends
Right.
40 hours per
Extensive
case,
research.
just
Yeah.
detail after detail. Like, I don't, maybe later on, hire some unpaid
Mhm.
interns or something. I don't know. I these are I don't know. There's a lot of really interesting cases for missing 411, but there are a lot that I think people are just putting too much into. Oh my god. Like there's one
Yeah.
case, there is I can't remember all the fucking perfect details, but a man and his like sister-in-law or something go hiking by themselves in this hiking trail that goes up to a bluff, and then they come back and he turns around and she's gone.
Wasn't
And it
that
was
just
like,
real
Oh,
recent?
I don't know, but it was like a lot of different, oh, it could be this or this or this, and a real heavy, mysterious presence. Like, that guy fucking killed her.
yeah. Right.
They never went to the
I
bluff
think
together. They never went to that trail together. He killed her in his
I
apartment.
think I listened to the same case that you did, and I was thinking the same thing almost
Yeah,
immediately, and then the further that it went on, I was like, "Yeah, she was buried before he drove
right.
there, like, she was
You can
somewhere,
search those
like, she
forests all you want, however you want. With
sh
helicopters, National Guard, it doesn't matter because she never made
yeah,
it there.
she never went out there,
Yeah.
no.
But, like, the video is always, like it really implicates, like, some supernatural or cryptid or, like, "Oh, yeah, Bigfoot fucking
Yeah,
snatched her up." I love all of those. I fucking wish that Bigfoot would kidnap people, but,
right.
we don't live in that world. I think that people just kill other people.
Yep, and, I think another one, especially in certain regions, is old
Mm,
mine shafts. Like, people there's not a lot of places that's not mapped, like, where they are, and a lot of them have literally just been lost to time and local knowledge, and, if you can stumble around in the woods out here and find old structures like old
yeah.
homesteads and silos, the bases of silos, foundations of homes, and I mean deep in the woods where they're like, "Whoa, this is kind of crazy." But they're old homesteads, and who's to say that there's not uncovered wells? I'm sure that cisterns and wells are things that have happened all the time, and sure, in a lot of the cases, they're like, "Well, the grid search was just so extensive that there's no way it wouldn't have been found." I'm sure that's true in some cases, but
Where'd we leave off?
anyway.
Oh, yeah.
No, I like the first one, the Tom Messick, um, that you
Mhm.
wrote
I didn't
down.
add any details
Ex
as you can tell.
Well, yeah, I mean, experienced hunter goes missing, no trace is found. That pretty much says it all,
Mhm.
though there's, way, way more to that story,
I think he
obviously.
was in his
Um,
70s or 80s, missing
80s, he
eye
was in his
from an
80s,
accident.
and he was missing an
Mhm.
eye. Those were the 2 biggest details that once I first heard them, I was like, "Okay," but then I got the rest of the details on the guy. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah?
he still should have been
Mhm.
fine out there." But 80 years old, is 80 plus years old, is 80 plus years old, and doesn't really matter how much experience and prowess you've had prior to life. You're almost a century old. Your bones are
Right.
brittle, and if I'm not mistaken, the scoutmaster for a really long time and taught all the hunter safety classes and everything like that in that area.
Very advanced, like survivalist, very experienced in the woods.
And it's not like he was out there isolated alone.
No,
It was
he went out
a
with, I
group of
think,
hunters that went out and, sure, he wasn't, like, sitting in a blind with another guy. He was by himself in the sense that they were just out of sight of each other in a line.
mhm. Yeah, I think it was 8 people of all pretty much close friends and family,
Yep.
and they were all hunting together in a way to where 4 or 5 would be in tree stands. The other 4 would push the deer kind of towards them,
Yeah. Yep. And,
and they all regrouped after the hunt, and he just never showed up and was
I've hunted that
never
way
seen again.
with family, with a group of people in a much smaller, set of land than what they were on, but I've still hunted in that manner. So I can imagine it
Mhm.
would be really weird to not know, especially if you lived there and it was a trip you made all the time, and it was, to not know where that person went, to be so familiar with the roads and stuff in the area. So, what are the
Right.
devil's advocate theories?
Well, it's I feel like people always hold it to, like, such high regard that because he was missing for a few days, the National Guard came in, I think, and they all did a grid pattern search for miles in every direction. They literally never found anything. They never found a candy wrapper, they never found his gun, they never found anything. And everybody
Yeah,
wants
none of his gear, like gloves or anything.
nothing. They wanna make a big deal about how the FBI showed up after 3 days. Like, "Oh my god, the FBI doesn't investigate missing adults." Yeah, probably because the FBI thought it was fucking murder. Like, I don't know, man. That's a thought.
That's, that's what I was gonna say too, is that, so I believe the FBI showed up because somewhere along the line, law enforcement looked at the amount of effort that was going into this search, and they looked at each other and they said, "Somebody standing in this group of people knows exactly what happened to Tom, and they're
Yeah,
not coming
exactly.
Yeah.
clean about it." And so they reached out, and I think, opinion, conjecture, but I think that's what happened. And, maybe not to the extent of that other case where Tom was never on that trip or never went out there. But
Right.
maybe there was an accident when he got out there. Maybe somebody took a shot and went where it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tom went somewhere he wasn't supposed to and somebody took a shot and he caught it, and then before he had time to pass, he's like, "Hey, just bury me out here and put me to rest. I'm fine." But I can't really, again, how would they not have found him? Yeah, they would have had to put him in the truck and take him away from there.
Right.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it was hours before they contacted police. That's
Yeah, because they all
just from my
they
understanding,
searched until dark themselves, and then
allegedly.
yeah, and then, like, just as it was getting dark, I believe, is when they called in, um, the reinforcements. So, yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like either A, because I just know a little bit about the story from like what you guys have off air, and then going back listening to this like again, kind of like first time, basically. That it's like either A, he was never there, B, going with what you said, Andrew, is he might have caught a stray bullet, wandered in to the wrong place, wrong time, or
Or D, Mothman
Mothman.
grabbed him, carried him away. Or Predator. Predator is very efficient.
There was the strange sound that was heard that always gets brought up, like the
There was a strange sound that is constantly brought up. Also, not far from there, I think a few years different, a hunter was sitting in a stand and allegedly saw a shimmer in front of them that moved. Literally, they didn't describe
oh,
it using the movie Predator as a reference, but it was very much akin to it.
That sighting's actually really credible though,
Yeah,
because there were other people who reported the same thing without knowing that she had reported it, and they reported seeing it off the field of the high school and the woods that she were was hunting in, like, was conjoined to that area close by the school. She was bow hunting from a tree stand. But the weird sound, what if it was just like a rock slide, like a freak little rock slide and a little, something like that, and it literally just buried him under like 19 feet of rock and stone, and the one that landed on top of the pile was just so massive. You know what I mean? Like in the right
right,
area, you couldn't necessarily tell. Like those rocks fell yesterday. In the right area, in the right terrain. I don't know if any of that
right.
existed in the Tom Messick case. I don't remember that much detail from the search area. But
Sure.
I do remember that in the missing 411 saga of things, that one of the conditional items for a disappearance is an area with pine trees and lots of like loose shale stone, like those big mountainsides. And I've often
Right,
thought that like you could never look at that mountainside and be like that area was significantly disturbed because it all looks like it just fell. Like it
right.
all looks like it
Yeah,
just shattered into a big pile. So if someone were to like somehow get caught in an air pocket or a slide that buried them under just, 12 feet of loose stones that are all anywhere from 1 pound to several tons. You'd never find that
right. And I've seen
person.
YouTube videos of like landslides, crazy big rocks and stuff. And as soon as it falls and everything settles, it's like, oh, it looks exactly like how it did before it fell.
I
So I get it.
wonder. Right, and I wonder if anyone's ever, like, scanned those areas with, like, a LiDAR drone where people
I don't
went
know.
missing.
It's a good question. Well, we could probably invest in the $100,000 it would take to get a lidar
Yeah,
drone.
we run a
You know, if this
museum.
if this podcast really takes off, I'm just saying.
I mean, a LiDAR drone would be at the top of my items to purchase if I suddenly found myself with a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, because I mean that also sounds plausible, like a landslide, and
I don't know. I have a hard time believing that anything supernatural or cryptid related or however you want to spin it to be unusual for Tom Messick, anything like that happened. I think
As with, like,
just that not enough as evidence has come forward.
yeah, I think the same. I think I hold that same opinion. I think for me to not believe that one or more individuals that went out on that trip know what happened to him, I would have to like be present or personally interview them all. You know what I mean? For me
Hmm.
to not
Right.
continue to hold the opinion that one or more of those people knows what happened to Tom. And that's just based that's not like I'm not accusing people, it's just circumstantial evidence. This person vanished into thin air. Why are we automatically assuming that the only individuals with the ability to put a body in a truck and take it wherever they want didn't do that?
Right. Why are we what and that's one of my biggest problems with missing 411 is it's in his attempt to be unbiased in presenting the information because he never comes out and says, well, it's probably this. He never does any of that. But it's very strongly leaned one way,
Yes, the
seemingly,
evidence
of just like,
stacked.
wow, this is such a mystery. But
Mhm.
it's like you why are you taking the entire human equation out of this? Because people are very capable of very terrible things. So it's like, why? Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's, I don't know, 50%. Most violent acts are committed out of passion or like
Evil, man, evil.
intense emotion. Very rarely is it premeditated. So,
And they're also capable of making some horrible mistakes and then compounding those mistakes in panic.
right.
But I'd just say, like, mistakes from, like, that case in the realm of hunting in the woods, like, crazy shit can happen, and, like, you make a crazy mistake and compound that mistake by covering it up and maybe got away with it, and,
Yeah, you're not thinking clearly when you accidentally shoot your best friend's dad hunting trip. You're not thinking clearly.
Like you said, like maybe he got off his rock. Maybe he went somewhere, you saw the buck of your life. It was the biggest spread you've ever seen. It's a 160 class, and you just don't look past it, and then it goes down, and then there's somebody shouting in the dirt too, and you just don't realize what happened till after it happened. But
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
the one outlet outside the realm of the supernatural that we have for that case, which I guess does
Yeah.
something for that case.
I don't know. I think that's way more likely than anything. Yeah. I don't know.
All very plausible, different outcomes, different scenarios. Like it could go either direction.
Can't wait to call someone in your story a murderer, because I don't know anyone about your case. I don't know anything about your case. Devil's advocate is.
So my story is about Danny Philippidis, basically like missing days. So just diving right in. So he was a 49-year-old firefighter from Toronto. They went on a ski trip with friends to the Whiteface Mountain Ski Resort in Wilmington, New York. Briefly parted the group to go get his cell phone from the car, but never returned. And then this massive manhunt on the other side of the country, 6 days later, turned up in Sacramento, nearly 3,000 miles away. Wandering around a rental car area near the airport, still dressed up in his ski gear, with no ID except a single credit card and no idea how he got there. Pretty much had no memory. He believed he flagged down a truck, and then the next thing he remembers was the truck driver telling him that he's in Utah. He eventually got a phone, and it took a day to remember his wife's number to call for help. Once questioned and speculated swirled around his cross country journey, the supposed truck driver seemed to be the only one who could solve the mystery. Authorities could not identify the driver, nor has ever came forward. Many people believe that Danny suffered a head injury or a concussion and memory loss. Others believe he was abducted by aliens and then returned after they carried out their experiments. The truth is, we may never know, and it is unlikely that Danny will ever remember, with no signs of the truck driver's disappearance, and the last 6 days will still remain a mystery.
Did you steal that last part, or was that dramatic writing of Josh?
That was part of the story.
Nice. I like it. That's really good.
There's just so many different ways that you could go about it.
I
That
want
dude had one hell of a vacation.
so bad. I want so badly for it to be alien abduction, but I bet that guy either had a momentary lapse of reason leading to psychosis and was just like, I'm out. I don't know where to go, but I'm out, and then kind of came to. Or what I want the most of all is that he was abducted by aliens.
I want that too.
You hear all these abduction stories, and they're just like, I was abducted by aliens. I remember the ship, and they implanted me with something. And it's just like, they wouldn't let you remember that. Why wouldn't it be like this?
But what's crazy to me, all right, so the first thing I was thinking was like in a survival scenario, you said 49-year-old firefighter from Toronto. I'm like, okay. So yeah, like I have to imagine based on the information I have that he's fit and the fact that he's going on a ski trip with friends in New York, like he's got to be in shape. Okay. So like that's what I'm thinking. Being a firefighter in Toronto, he's definitely seen some things and been in some crazy situations. He he's got some education in that department, so like in my mindset, I
True.
instantly see this guy as like he's no slouch, that he's no city slicker dude that just went out on a ski trip and got lost and wandered around the woods. But Utah, that's what stuck me. So he turned up wandering around a rental car area near the airport, but he was told, yeah, in Sacramento, but he was told by the truck driver he was in Utah. Why did it take you Utah to Sacramento? That's what is that? 600 miles, 560 miles, something like that. It's got to be more than that. No, that's probably it's probably around 500 miles. But it's still got to be what, 6 hours to from like the edge of from the Utah border to Sacramento. What is that?
I mean,
I
yeah,
would guess.
it is pretty much a straight shot from where Sacramento is if you're going through like central Utah, but
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if you're going, that isn't that far. That isn't that far. I guess I was thinking Vegas.
He's looking it up right now.
well, I was just trying to get like a path.
I would think like 300 miles, but still.
No, I mean that's far. That's got to be close to 500 miles.
So the Colorado Utah border to Sacramento is 902.
Fuck.
So at what part of Utah still?
Capital to capital, it's 700 miles, and they're both centrally located. But if you just zoom in on the map and go from a border town, so let's choose Garrison, Utah to Sacramento. And I just bring that up because okay, 8 hours and 13 minutes, 521 miles from the westernmost border of Utah to Sacramento, as straight a shot as you can do it. That's so you were found wandering near the rental place in Sacramento. It's not like you turned yourself in or you got hold of a phone or you
Mhm.
called for help, you know?
Yes, like
That who
pieces of
made that
memory.
story up. So 2 options now, in my opinion. If it was possible for him to get lost at the ski resort somehow, like go off down a trail and maybe he went down a different trail, got separated from the trail on a game trail, found himself near a highway and asked a trucker for a ride. Maybe that happened, and maybe that trucker was ready for a lot lizard and had like a latte of GHB just primed and ready to go. And he was like, you know what? 49-year-old firefighter's the flavor of the week. And then, you know, poor Danny wakes up in Sacramento. He's all wallered out. He's not going to call somebody and be like, hey, somebody hollered out my leather Cheerio. Come get
Oh
me.
god. Oh my
I didn't
god.
make that up. I stole that phrase from somebody.
Gold either way.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
There's definitely a visual there.
There's some puzzle pieces getting put together to visualize
that's
that.
well, and that was an occurrence, like a thought that popped into my head when I was laying on the couch in my misery this past week. I was so sick. But I was laying there and the TV was going in the background and they were talking about this whole scandal going on with Diddy and the trial and all that. And they're like, he had bottles of baby oil laced with GHB. So you'd get a massage and then just wake up and what had been done to you was done to you and it's on film. So tell people if you want, the whole world's going to see it. And you have no memory of it happening or you like you but so like that's one of
Jeez.
the things of GHB. You get dosed with it and you have no memory of what happened to you. None whatsoever. And I think like that occurred to me with a lot of these missing 411 cases or like that could be what happened to some of these people in some of these circumstances that vanish and turn up someplace else. Like you got trafficked. like you got you got trafficked. Turn up in a ski gear though.
Yeah. Fuck, that got dark.
Hey, I mean, it's possibilities.
We're just here casually
Possibilities.
talking about missing people. For fuck's sake, Andrew, you really brought the mood down.
You said we were exploring the possibilities. So,
Yeah.
Diddy trial was pretty crazy stuff. To be
I've specifically avoided it just because I've been in a pretty good mood lately.
yeah, yeah.
I've never really cared for him, so I never really sparked interest in it. And it's just like
Me neither.
why give you the attention?
And it's just
If I
an
still-
Epstein thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's just that seeing justice, being dealt on
Right.
somebody in the Hollywood realm that's involved in all of the stuff that we knew they were. But
it's justice being dealt to a fucking pawn.
true. I don't know. I don't know about a pawn necessarily in his case.
Necessarily no,
Yeah, I
but
feel like he was pretty high level. That's why there's so many people implicated in the thing. But anyway.
All right, find a knight,
Yeah.
thinking about a chessboard.
Anyway, so my other
There are a lot more valuable pieces.
Yeah, true. my other theory, back to Danny, is that who are the people that he went on the ski trip with? You know, was that said went a ski trip with friends at Whiteface Mountain Ski Resort in Wilmington, in New York. So that's not necessarily that far from Toronto to New York.
And that was my thought.
Briefly, yeah, so it says that he parted the group to get his cell phone from the car, but never returned.
Did he make it to the ski resort?
Yeah, they were there.
They were actually skiing and he just vanished.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that right there is like, is that intentional? Like, did you leave your cell phone in the car on purpose? You had no intention of being with these people? Did you have an online girlfriend and this was your chance to
Right,
just, yeah,
disappear.
literally just vanish, do whatever you wanted on the beach in Cabo for, you know, 5 days, and then,
Right. I mean, how many stories are out there of just like a happy husband and wife and kids, and turns
yeah,
out 20 years
also,
later he's
what,
got a
year
whole
was
nother
this? Because I
family in
feel like if
Germany.
it was any time relatively recently and you were to do that, then, like, people would out you, you know what I mean? The internet, people who worked at the airport and all that, they would come out, "Hey, we saw this guy get off this flight at this time," like, I think it would be too hard to pull off a
Mhm.
casual vacation using your own identity if there's a large concerted effort to find you. Yeah, see, maybe that's less of a like, "Oh, I just decided to go on." I mean, I guess you could have
Right.
driven yourself 3,000 miles, but
2018.
Okay.
you could charter a private plane. It's not like, yeah, it's not like that's gonna be big news or a big ticket item. Hmm.
But at that point, everything
It's
has
definitely interesting.
GPS and
But his story doesn't make sense. I guess it says he believed he may have flagged down a truck, but he remembered the truck driver telling him he was in Utah. Eventually, he got a phone, but took a day to even remember his wife's number. Why would you take a whole day calling your wife? Why would you not instantly go to a police station and ask for help?
right.
Right. I tried looking up, found the story. I thought it was interesting. And then I started trying to find any more information on it. And literally, it almost as if it was just like copy and pasted on this website, this Reddit forum. And then, like, there's no other information.
So that's a bummer when it's broken up like that over multiple different sources and you don't really find what
See
you're
a
looking
picture
for
of this
to
guy.
judge him correctly.
Oh yeah, judging. I gotta judge a book by its cover. You know. Oh man. No, this dude knows exactly what happened. This dude knows exactly what happened, man. He knows he was on a bender. He was on a bender for sure. Oh, what did I find? Times Union, rescuers and volunteers. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of pictures from like the operation and the briefing. Yeah. Okay.
See, now I want to know is his behavior leading up to his disappearance, because this kind of reminds me of my other story, which was Bryce Lapisa, which got really, really popular, I think like
Huh.
2016, 2018, around the same time. And it just sucks. The sources I found for it were like really mixed. I found one video where this chick reporting on it was just like, "Oh yeah, he was perfectly fine, everything was normal," and then one day he went missing. And then I found some, like it was a Mr. Ballin video, I think a couple other videos that clearly had done a little bit more research and leading up to his disappearance, months, like heavy drinking, heavy drug use, acting erratically, acting strange, broke up with his long-term girlfriend over a text kind of thing, and then just one day just disappeared. So what was the behavior leading up to the disappearance?
That's what I'm interested in. Okay. Okay, 3 sets of tests and multiple visits to neurologists and neuropsychologists in Toronto confirmed that he had suffered some sort of head injury.
Ooh.
Investigators determined that Philippidis likely fell near a children's ski slope and ended up at a hub used for children's programming that would have been closed at the time, according to the Canadian press. At some point, he came across a truck driver. 6 days later, he turned up in California, had somehow gotten a haircut, and bought a new iPhone. So, no, I'm done. So I was starting to believe
I'm
this
fucking
guy.
done. He got his
I'm
haircut
done.
done for his
I'm done.
fucking overseas girlfriend who was
he
visiting.
he got done with his wild bender, and he had his buddy or somebody just clock him a couple times with the elbow. He's like, "Just really rock me, dude. Knock me out." Like, he showed up with a new iPhone and a haircut. No. Uh, that's hard. That's harsh judgment, for, the hundreds of people in different agencies that were involved in trying to find this guy. Um, but that's again what I'm curious about is like, I don't know, was that part of the
The plan, the getaway.
well, I mean, was it part of the investigation? Did they look at it from that perspective? Like, okay, did this dude just vanish for a couple days? That happened recently with a woman in she made up a story. So I guess there was the filing of a false police report, but she called and said that there was like somebody with a child injured on the side of the interstate, and then when she went to like go talk to that person, they had coerced her in a gun, and she literally just like made the whole thing up and then vanished for a little while.
I feel like even in the poorest of quality investigation you'll find is that someone is still going to be very skeptical of just,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, days that are unaccounted for.
So it did say Sacramento County Sheriff spokesman Sean Hampton said deputies found Philippidis wandering around the rental car area of the airport. He was clearly in need of medical attention, was still wearing his ski gear, Hampton said. They believe that he spent the night near Richards Boulevard along the Interstate 5 corridor. It's unclear how Philippidis moved from Richards Boulevard to the airport, which is about 13 miles away. So I think they must believe that through, like, tracking video surveillance of, like, how he arrived at the airport and backtracking that, you know what I mean,
Right.
to the area where he spent, but they couldn't pinpoint the exact spot where he spent the night. So I think that he had a bender, had a grand old time, got changed back into his ski gear with his fresh iPhone and his fresh cut, and then he just, like, freaking head blitzed the wall in the bathroom at the motel or a telephone pole or something, and then started wandering with a bloody fucked up head, to just really tie it all together. If I'm playing devil's advocate again,
Of course.
that's the one
Yeah.
I'm gonna settle with over the trafficked thing, even though that's still pretty possible.
I'm like 50-50. That,
He
or he
took a
was,
wrong turn trying to get to his car, found a road, trucker stopped, "Hey, you need some help?" Wrong trucker. That's all it takes.
Yep.
and that's
The
all it
trucker's
takes,
from
kids. Don't ever
Ohio.
hitchhike.
He's from Ohio, and he's thirsty. That dude looks good in his ski gear. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Like,
And if you're ever going to come across a trucker that's going to be like that, he's definitely from Ohio.
yeah, and he does the speed limit there, so that's how you know. That's how you know he's a psychopath. And it's like he either had a bender or his side of the story really is true. And he hopped into a truck to get a ride. And it was just like the wrong truck because he says he remembers hopping in a truck. Next thing he knows, he was waking up in Utah. So it's like, could have been the wrong truck. But he eventually got a new phone. Took him a day to remember his wife's number. And when he called it, someone else answered. It was one of his wife's friends. And that chick's reaction was, quote, "You know, everybody is looking for you. We're all here in Lake Placid." Like, what's the tone of that? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Like, where are you?" Like, you know everyone's looking for you. We're all here looking for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, I'm still gonna play the devil's advocate on that one and think that, old boyo went partying.
I'd have to say the same. You know, it's just too convenient.
Yeah, there's too much. It's just too much.
A word from our sponsor.
Oh, this is a real sponsor. We know nobody wants to hear, ads, but this is how we pay for the podcast. So, endure. We'll be right back. Everyone knows to kill a vampire, you must decapitate, place the head between the legs, and incinerate. Do you ever feel rushed? Can't make it to that wedding you were invited to? Or maybe a bar mitzvah? Are you in need of a faster way? Who has the time? Well, now you can carry the power of Hell's Fury in your hand with Instant Incinerator, brought to you by Vivalve Corporation. With 2 to 3 sprays of our handheld spray bottle, you can now send any entity to their inevitable doom. Disclaimer, not intended for human or animal consumption. Mild exposure to overspray may result in spontaneous combustion, overwhelming sense of doom, sudden loss of skin, blindness, redness of the eyes, hair loss, diarrhea, mild or sporadic ideation of public defecation, compulsive desire to overconsume radishes and other vegetables of the mustard family. Vivalve Corporation does not take responsibility for angelic, demonic, or otherworldly repercussions caused by using Instant Incinerator.
So, next topic.
Who had the next story?
Either one of you.
Andrew, do you have a good one?
I gotta open my notes because, I fail at life.
We're all failing. It's okay. So I only have one more, unless I talked about Catherine Van Alst.
Who was it? Catherine what?
Catherine Van Alst. Josh, does that ring any bells for you?
Yes, I'm looking right at it right now.
Oh my God, lose the attitude.
I'm so frustrated.
You have no idea what frustrated is, sir. I'm kind of lost on the Catherine Van Alst. I think that's how you... But basically, I think she was younger than 10, went with her family to a really crowded dam where they all went swimming. And completely crowded, a lot of people around, suddenly vanished. Nobody could find her. Obviously, they did a search and rescue. She was found miles outside of the search area, in an area where she didn't think, where nobody thought she could be found. And she lived in the wilderness in a bathing suit for 6 days. And when she was found, she was healthy, not starving to death, not dehydrated, nothing. Doesn't remember anything. Remembers sleeping in a cave. That's pretty much it. Like a 7 or 8 year old.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense.
Right. And I think the ones where they find the people alive are way more intriguing than, oh, this person just completely disappeared. Like we talked about earlier. It's like, well, you were hiking with your mother-in-law or whatever. Obviously, she just murdered you.
Right.
Or
when it's like a group of people and they're like, that person went around the bend and then we went around the bend and we never saw them again. It's like,
right. I just think it's way more interesting when they're found alive and they have these weird stories.
Oh, yeah. Lost time or the unexplained.
I will say, I found, I think, my favorite missing person story. Andrew, if you're ready to go, then I'll patiently wait.
No, go ahead. I'm almost there.
So I heard this story before from Mr. Ballin, and he actually linked in the comment section or in the bio to her own video. Now she's like 21 or 22, where she tells her own story, and it's just wild. She was 6 years old, Haley Zega. I think the family took, I think it was her and her grandmother and her grandfather took a trip to Ozark Forest, Whitaker Park. She talked about they were walking down the trail. She's a 6-year-old, obviously got fussy and irritated. And the grandparents kind of played a trick of just like, oh, well, if you don't catch up, we're going to leave you behind. And then they kept walking and just barely went out of sight. And then she just got lost and disappeared. And she was missing for 2 days. It was the largest search and rescue in Arkansas history, mostly volunteers. Basically, she was found by 2 men on mules who left the search party voluntarily because they went to the search party officials and were like, we think we know where she is. And they're like, that's fine, but you're out of your mind. Like, there's no way we're going to look there. And they found her. Not too crazy of a story until you hear her side, where she talks about basically right off the bat, she was missing. She talks about how calm she was the entire time, but she was calm because she had an imaginary friend join her almost immediately. And she talks about how she's never had an imaginary friend before. And at first it's like, okay, but they they followed her footsteps, like basically the trail she would have went down.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely insane that she would have done that by herself. I don't know, I have written down here, Haley recalls meeting a 4-year-old girl that guided her, played games with her, and kept her calm. And her imaginary friend guided her down what is believed to be the only safe way down a 200-foot bluff to a river, where she stayed close to the river. And that's eventually where the 2 men on mules found her for 2 days. And it's such a ridiculous story. And like, I watched her YouTube video, which is like an hour. I watched some live streams, and she doesn't seem like somebody that's full of shit. It's really genuine, of just like, she went and told her story, and then at the end she's like, yeah, also this whole imaginary friend thing happened. And it's just this really bizarre thing. I really recommend you guys and whoever else go to her YouTube channel. She's only got like 3 videos, obviously not trying to become famous.
Right.
Haley Zaga. It's just really kind of a wild story to listen to her tell.
Right. I will have to watch that. And like you said, I do really enjoy hearing from the ones that like have been through it, survived, come out the other end of it, and just have those details to give us. I feel like it helps narrow down some of the other cases as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the case I had been researching, I didn't get as far into the research as I wanted to. Oh wow, I was actually I'm out there a lot actually. So, it's a guy, it's local. It's a local case. And it's from 2019, so it's local and recent.
Okay.
And it's in, a portion of the woods I spend a lot of the time in. A lot of time in. But the guy's name was Todd, and he was last seen at 10 a.m. January 18th at the Plainwell Public Safety Station, and he'd showed up for an interview with law enforcement, and that was the last time anyone saw him. So his last known contact was with law enforcement,
Oh,
and his vehicle was located later in the Allegan State Game area on 125th near 43rd with the keys inside, and he's never been seen since.
whoa. What year was this?
2019.
Jeez.
Yeah, and his name was Todd Lilge. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Lilge. It's all public information you can find searching the internet. But 2019, and in fact, if I were to bring up my Onyx right now, I would be curious if I don't have like waypoints dropped in that exact area. 125th and 43rd.
That's just crazy that it was like so recent. I don't remember ever hearing anything about that.
I know. Uh, but that's like one that, so he has some interesting charges too if you look him up that way. And there's snippets of conversations online, a lot of hearsay about cases that he was involved in and whether or not he was abusing substances, or whether or not he had dropped off of a program that was supposed to be helping him stay off substances. And if I'm not mistaken, I can't find it again, but I want to say that the last time I was looking into it, the interview at the Plainville police station was in regards to a homicide, I believe. Yeah. It's
Ooh,
I actually have, yeah, I
juicy.
mean, I have pictures dropped in the middle of the woods all over that area. All over. That's crazy. I'm actually gonna spend time looking for this dude out there.
That'd be wild. Don't go
Remember what
missing.
I told you though. If I ever do go missing in the national forest or in the state game area or whatever, just look for DNA, because I'm leaving pieces of something behind. I'm not like I'm carving chunks of hair off of a Bigfoot as it's dragging me away. I'm doing something.
The moment you were like, look for DNA evidence, I was like, I don't know if I should be
Only
grossed
search on
out or
the
turned
internet.
on.
Look for the big black light.
Look
Um, but anyway, anyone
uh
with information
wow.
on Todd is asked to contact Michigan State Police Pawpaw Post at 269-657-5551 for all of our local listeners. Yeah. Um, Pretty nuts,
That's so fucking crazy that it's that close to home. I know I wanted to cover one, but I couldn't. I'm not organized enough. But a guy went missing. It's kind of similar to Josh's story. A guy went missing. He walked away from a party. Maybe it's not similar. I'm trying to think. It's not. He went missing, walked away from a party in like South Haven, and they found him like
Oh wow.
floating upside down, like rigid in the water, like really unnatural. And there was some like talk of like smiley face killer or something like that around here, which is some weird, a lot of mysterious deaths get attributed to some unknown serial killer, smiley face killer or something. I don't know. The internet's a weird place and I don't know what to believe.
That sounds familiar to me, the smiley face killer, but I mean, it could be anything from like an old Criminal Minds episode to why does that sound so familiar? Smiley face killer.
Smiley face killer.
Um,
Would deviate. Smiley face killers show profiles. West Michigan man's death. Was the mysterious death of a West Michigan man the work of the quote smiley face killers? That was in 2019. Oh, okay. No, it was Todd Geib. Geib. They found him floating in the water. He'd been missing for 21 days. And when they pulled him from the water,
Okay.
it was pretty clear he had not been in the water for 21 days. I think he'd only been in there for maybe a day, according to the autopsy,
Yeah.
which is probably the strangest part about it.
That he's missing for all that time. So what? He was held someplace and then dumped.
I guess, yeah.
I say that we go look for this Todd guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to
So
figure out
like
where.
where he went floating. What lake was it?
Muskegon. Yeah, he was found in Muskegon on a private lake
Hmm.
in 2005. It does not say.
well, because like Muskegon, you have the bay.
Right.
But it's Michigan. There's lakes every fucking mile. But he was floating vertically,
Yeah, like a log
up and
that
down, head above water, resting on his arm.
like the logs in after the volcanic eruption at Mount St. Helens, where the trees got covered in volcanic ash, and then in one end of them, and then they wound up
Oh,
floating in the water vertically up and down. But the volcanic ash on one end of them was so heavy that they all sank to the bottom. So now, if you scuba dive to the bottom of this lake out there, it's literally a massive forest of petrified trees because the ash petrified and turned to stone. Yeah.
that's wild. Okay.
Um
Any more stories, guys?
Um,
I feel like we're starting to get into a groove
I
here.
don't,
Yeah.
I don't have any right off the what is going on over here.
So it sucks that it's like the end of the day for all of us, the end of the workday, and we're all kind of like low energy. I think we should make it a podcast mandatory that we chug a Celsius, or an energy drink right before doing this, so that it's fucking wild and we're all out of our minds. It is kind of low energy, you know what I'm
I
saying?
feel like
Which is cool.
it kind of was getting there. It was definitely more energy than what it was last time.
I know, and I think that it's a combination of it's the end of the day for all of us. We're all kind of tired. On top
Technical
of
difficulties.
we're kind of getting technical difficulties, making everyone super irritated, and also we're kind of getting back into the comfort of doing this. But I don't know. It's nice to do a couple recording sessions and then like we'll listen to them and see what we think. We can always go back and take snippets and re-record whatever. But I don't know. It'd be nice to have the same like feverish, frenzied energy that Andrew and I had on our original one, but with a little bit more direction.
Right. It's just
A little less ADHD.
it's just a matter of like getting into that groove.
Right. And I completely agree. And I think the missing 411 missing persons thing isn't the best way for us to like get into the mood of being like over energetic because it's kind of fucked up. It's a bunch of people that went missing. We got to talk about some silly shit like aliens and
that's why
Bigfoot.
I'm so excited about the time travel thing, because
I am too.
like I just want to like pour my heart and soul into it because that's my thing.